Folks, grab onto your seats. If you've ever told yourself or your family, "We've got a flashlight, we'll be fine," you're playing a dangerous game with fate, and it's not theoretical. Just a few months ago, on April 28, 2025, the Iberian Peninsula plunged into one of the most chaotic blackouts in modern memory, affecting Spain, Portugal, parts of Andorra, and even southwestern France. In the blink of an eye, whole cities were swallowed in darkness. Emergency systems, metros, communication networks, ATMs, shops, everything went dead. Trains halted mid-ride. Traffic lights gave way to gridlock. Hospitals scrambled on backup generators, all within seconds. But let me hit you with the gut punch. This wasn't just an infrastructure failure, it became a life-or-death scenario for entire families. In Galicia, 3 members of one family, a couple and their adult son, died from carbon monoxide poisoning after using a generator indoors and trying to keep a ventilator running. In Madrid, a candle fire in Carabanchel resulted in another fatality with dozens more injured. And across the country, 7 people lost their lives from blackout-related causes in just one day. This isn't a prank, this is raw reality. A blackout isn't an inconvenience, it's a war zone. And you, dear viewer, are squarely in the crosshairs. So forget the niceties. Tonight we're tearing open the top 7 blackout blunders families can't stop making, exposing the mistakes nobody wants to talk about until it's too late. If you thought your prep was enough, buckle up, because when the grid shocks you dark, it's not only your lights that go out, it's your ability to survive. Number 7. Running your generator like it's Coachella. This is the blackout blunder that drains people dry faster than the outage itself, burning through generator fuel as if you've got a refinery in the backyard. The second that motor kicks on, people feel invincible. The fridge is cold, the lights are on, the TV works, and suddenly it's like the blackout doesn't exist. But here's the gut punch. Fuel is the first currency to collapse in any prolonged outage. A 5,000-watt generator drinks about 0.75 gallons of gasoline per hour under a moderate load. That means if you run it continuously, you'll torch through 18 gallons a day. Now tell me honestly, how many people keep even 18 gallons on hand, let alone enough for a week or two? Not many. And when the neighborhood realizes the pumps don't work without power, panic begins. During Hurricane Sandy, New Yorkers stood in 6-hour fuel lines stretching for blocks. And that's if they were lucky enough to find a station with fuel left. But it's not just about scarcity. The CDC reports that carbon monoxide poisoning from generators kills dozens every year because people run them in garages too close to doors or under windows. It's silent, odorless, and it kills you in your sleep before you even know what's happening. That's not just a mistake, it's suicide in slow motion. The smart move: run your generator in scheduled bursts, just long enough to cool the fridge, charge batteries and power absolute essentials like sump pumps. Rotate your fuel, store it safely, and never assume the stations will reopen before your stash runs dry. A generator is not a replacement for the grid, it's a bridge. Treat it like your only one, because when the gas is gone, so is your lifeline. Number 6. Forgetting medications like they're optional. Here's the blackout mistake no one talks about until it's too late. Assuming your medicine cabinet will magically take care of itself. Wrong. In the United States, nearly 131 million people, about 66% of adults, take at least one prescription medication daily. That's blood pressure meds, insulin, thyroid pills, antidepressants, heart drugs, you name it. And yet most households only keep a 14-day supply on hand at any given time. Pharmacies, they're not fortresses of endless supply, they're built on just-in-time delivery systems. Once the trucks stop, the shelves empty in hours. During Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico saw pharmacies stripped bare in less than 72 hours, leaving thousands of diabetics without insulin. In fact, the CDC reported a surge of preventable deaths in the weeks that followed, not because of the storm itself, but because people's prescriptions simply ran out. Here's the brutal part. Insulin spoils after 28 days if it isn't refrigerated. Antibiotics left in a hot cabinet degrade fast. Even blood pressure meds can lose potency if exposed to extreme heat during summer outages. Yet families treat medications as an afterthought, something they'll pick up tomorrow. There is no tomorrow when the grid collapses. The smart move: talk to your doctor now about extended prescriptions or emergency refills. Keep at least a 30-day buffer stored in airtight containers away from heat and moisture. For drugs requiring cold storage, invest in small medical coolers or battery-powered mini fridges. Because once the blackout begins, you're not just fighting the dark, you're fighting the clock inside every pill bottle in your home. Number 5. Thinking cash is enough without security. Here's the mistake almost every family makes once they've wised up to the cash is king rule. They think having a fat wad of bills makes them untouchable. Wrong. Cash without security is just bait. After the 1977 New York blackout, looting wasn't just about sneakers and TVs, it was about cash. Small businesses and households became targets precisely because people assumed money made them strong. In truth, money paints a target on your back when the grid is down. Think about this. In a prolonged blackout, 901 response times collapse. In Ferguson's 2014 riots, response times for emergency calls ballooned to over 45 minutes, and that was with partial infrastructure intact. In Puerto Rico post-Maria, many neighborhoods reported no police presence for weeks. Having cash in those conditions is like walking through a crowd with a stake strapped to your chest. The data backs it up. Studies show that property crimes spike between 20–30% in blackout scenarios, and in urban centers, looting rates rise by multiples of 10. Here's the fatal error. People stash money but fail to secure it. They don't lock safes. They don't divide funds into multiple hiding places. They don't even have backup ways to barter when cash inflates or becomes unsafe to flash. The smart strategy: don't just stockpile, conceal. Break your stash into small bills, hide them in multiple containers, and pair your financial prep with physical deterrence, locks, neighborhood watch packs, and if you're trained and legal, self-defense tools. Cash is leverage, but only if you live long enough to spend it. Number 4. Trusting frozen food like it's long-term storage. Here's a blackout mistake that turns freezers into death traps. Assuming frozen food is safe forever, families stock their deep freezes with steaks, pizzas, frozen veggies, and bulk Costco buys, patting themselves on the back for being prepared. But let's pull the curtain back. According to the USDA, once your freezer rises above 0 EVF, the countdown begins. If it stays unopened, it might hold temperature for 48 hours, but open it just a few times, that window shrinks to 24, maybe 12 hours in hot climates. After that, your ice-cold treasure chest turns into a bacteria incubator. And here's the kicker: you can't see the danger. Studies show that Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli multiply at rates up to double every 20 minutes, once food hits the danger zone of 40–140. That chicken you grilled on day 3 might look fine, smell fine, but it can still kill you. After Hurricane Katrina, shelters reported thousands of cases of foodborne illness because families insisted on eating thawed leftovers. And once your freezer stash rots, you've lost not just food but calories you might not replace for weeks. The smart move isn't to trust frozen, it's to diversify. Canned goods, dried staples, shelf-stable proteins like beans and rice, powdered milk, foods that don't need a humming appliance to stay safe. Freeze-dried meals have a shelf life of 20–30 years, and they won't betray you when the lights go out. Treat your freezer like a bonus, not a lifeline, because in a blackout, cold storage isn't security, it's a ticking time bomb. Number 3. Treating lighting like it's just comfort. Here's the trap families fall into every single time. They think light is about comfort, mood, or convenience. Wrong. In a blackout, light is survival. Without it, you lose more than vision, you lose security, safety, and control. The data is ugly. The National Fire Protection Association reports that during outages, accidental house fires spike by as much as 25%, often from candles left unattended. Add children, pets, or panic, and your romantic candlelight dinner turns into a 4-alarm blaze. But that's just one layer. Darkness makes injuries skyrocket, falls, cuts, even burns, because people are fumbling in pitch-black hallways or staircases. Records from the 2003 Northeast blackout showed a sharp surge in trauma admissions directly linked to the absence of light. And then there's the human psychology. Studies in environmental psychology show that complete darkness amplifies fear responses by over 40%, increasing irrational decisions, paranoia, and even aggression in group settings. This is why riots often erupt after sunset during outages. The darkness becomes a cover for both desperation and crime. Here's where most families fail. They blow through their flashlight batteries in the first 24 hours or burn every candle in the house. By day 3, they're left in raw darkness. The smart play: layer your lighting, solar lanterns for long-haul crank-powered flashlights for emergency backup, battery-powered LED strips for efficiency, and yes, candles only as absolute last resort. And always ration light, one lantern in a central room, portable lights for movement, nothing wasted. Light isn't ambiance, it's control over the night itself. Lose it and you're prey in your own home. Number 2. Forgetting hygiene like it doesn't matter. Here's the overlooked killer in every blackout: hygiene. Families panic about food and water but completely forget that human waste, dirty dishes and unwashed hands become weapons in the dark. In Haiti's 2010 disaster aftermath, cholera spread like wildfire, over 800,000 cases because sanitation broke down. In Puerto Rico after Maria, officials begged families to stop dumping raw sewage in rivers, but when toilets don't flush and garbage isn't collected, people make desperate choices. And here's the thing, your own body is the threat. Studies show that failing to wash hands is directly responsible for over 30% of diarrhea-related illnesses and nearly 20% of respiratory infection. Add that to a blackout where medical help is limited and suddenly a stomach bug is a death sentence. Families always assume we'll just ride it out without thinking about where the waste goes when the water shuts down. Toilets back up, garbage piles up, and within days, your own home turns into a biohazard zone. The fix isn't glamorous, but it's life-saving. Bucket toilets lined with heavy-duty trash bags, bleach solution or lime for sanitation, wet wipes and plenty of soap stored away. FEMA recommends at least a 2-week supply of sanitation products per person, but surveys show fewer than 12% of Americans actually meet that standard. Hygiene isn't optional, it's the invisible line between survival and outbreak. In a blackout, if you let sanitation slide, you won't die from the dark, you'll die from your own negligence. Number 1. Thinking the blackout ends tomorrow. This is the most dangerous mistake, the one almost every family makes, and yes, that means you too. Believing the blackout will end tomorrow. Normalcy bias. That quiet voice that whispers, "Don't worry, the power company will fix it soon," but history proves otherwise. In 2003, parts of Ohio and Michigan went 4 days without power. In Puerto Rico after Maria, some communities lived 11 months in blackout conditions. In the Texas freeze of 2021, millions shivered for nearly a week in sub-zero conditions because the grid collapsed harder than anyone predicted. The average American family plans for 24 hours, maybe 72 if they're cautious, but reality, grid restoration timelines depend on damage scale, supply chain logistics, and manpower. One transformer fails and you're looking at a local fix. But when entire regions collapse, it's weak. And here's the sinister part. Every day without power multiplies the risks: supply shortages, civil unrest, medical emergencies, contamination, even government rationing. The Department of Homeland Security admits that most cities have only 72 hours of food supply before collapse begins. By day 5, grocery shelves are bare. By day 7, crime spikes. By day 10, water systems fail completely. If you're betting on tomorrow, you're betting on luck, and luck doesn't keep your kids fed. The smart move: prep for minimum 2 weeks, ideally a month, with food, water, light, sanitation and fuel. Assume tomorrow won't come, because in a blackout it's not hope that saves you, it's the hard truth you face today. And that's the truth most families don't want to face. Blackouts don't just test your power grid, they test your preparation, your judgment, and your survival. The mistakes we've talked about tonight, they're the same ones people make over and over until it costs them everything. So ask yourself, when the lights go out next time, will your family be ready, or will you be another cautionary tale, whispered about in the dark?